today the medic got a new addition to its new class of weaponry, the bolt-action carbines. In the M28 Tromboncino, and do apologize my pronunciation, the medic has another addition to its more medium-range focused arsenal, and unlike the previous edition, the Deleuze Commando Carbine, in my opinion this one's a lot more effective, and in many ways a straight upgrade over the Commando Carbine. But more on that later, for as per usual for the weapon reviews, we're going to be going over the stats of the M28, the specializations and upgrades available and that I would recommend, alongside of course how this weapon compares to some of the competition both within the medic class of weaponry and outside of it, and of course how to get the most out of this weapon when using it on the battlefield. That being said then, of course, the weapon just being released, we only have a couple of headline stats, including the maximum and minimum damage. This weapon coming with a maximum damage of 56 and a minimum damage of 40, giving you a guaranteed 2-shot kill in close quarters, even medium ranges actually in this case, and a 3-shot kill at long ranges. Already there, a significant improvement over the Commando Carbine, which drops out to a 4-shot kill relatively quickly. In terms of fire rate, without specializations, this weapon starts at a measly 88 rounds per minute and a relatively small magazine at only 6 shots available. Now, the remainder of these stats, especially accuracy and hipfire, will be interesting to look at a later date, but for now at least, regrettably, we don't have them, which means we need to talk a little bit about the specializations, which are very important when it comes to the bolt-action carbine weaponry in Battlefield 5, at least so far. They're quite influential. Now, in terms of your choice, your first choice is either between quick aim or slings and swivels, the one giving you a faster time to ADS and the other giving you faster switching between your primary and secondary weapon. Then you either go down the left-hand side, which gives you quick reload, and then enhanced grips, which gives you more accurate hipfire when using the weapon. If you choose the right-hand side, you'll be going for custom stock, which gives you a higher degree of accuracy while moving, and the lightened stock, giving you faster movement while aiming down sight. Then your last choice is between the machine bolt, which is an upgrade to the weapon's fire rate, bringing it up from 88 rounds per minute to a smooth 100 rounds per minute, or you go for the improved grenades, which increases the actual damage of those to vehicles but reduces the blast damage. If you're not aware, this weapon actually has a grenade launcher attached to it, which is accessed by activating your secondary fire mode. On PC, that's usually by default V. On console, it would be whatever you would use to, for example, set your STG or other fully automatic weapon into an alternate fire mode, for example, burst or single shot. In terms of which I would recommend then, this is actually pretty difficult because both of the kind of right hand or left hand sides are quite attractive for very different reasons. On the one hand, between quick aim and swings and swivels, I'm always somebody who prefers quick aim. That's an easy choice for me, but between going for quick reload and hipfire versus more accuracy essentially while moving and being able to AD spam a little bit better by moving faster when aiming down sight, it's a little bit more of a tougher one. The hipfire gives you a clear advantage in close quarters if you have to panic and try and, for example, nail a headshot against something while hipfiring. Can be useful, but not exactly the ideal situation to be using this weapon in because it is not an exclusive close quarter weapon. For a matter of fact, it is not a close quarter weapon at all. It's more of a medium range weapon. Close quarter weaponry for the medic is going to be the SMGs, not the bolt-action carbines. On the right hand side, then you have better accuracy while strafing back and forth, which is something you do, but it's something that, well, accuracy improvements in general don't tend to be that influential, especially versus recoil or even sometimes hipfire upgrades. In terms of your last choices, then the machine bolt is the obvious one and the one that I went personally, but if you try and make the medic a little bit more capable against vehicles and you're working together in a squad, I can absolutely see the improved anti-vehicle damage of the grenade launcher of this weapon making you a valuable addition to your actual squad when trying to take out tanks. Say you want to have one of each class in your 4-man squad, well, in certain scenarios, depending on the engagement distance and depending on the kind of tank you're fighting, a single assault and single support may struggle in certain scenarios to actually take out a tank on their own, especially in relatively quick succession and time before he's been able to drive off. There, being able to use your grenade launcher to actually chip away at the tank can actually be quite helpful, and they don't do 0 damage if you take into account that you can use up to 3 of them and that you're going to be using them in tandem with your squad using a little bit more heavy weaponry against vehicles. That being said then, while I played mostly with a left-hand side focus, that is quick aim, quick reload, enhanced grip, and then machine bolt, in hindsight, and having played the weapon for multiple hours now, I'd probably recommend quick aim and then a custom stock and lightened stock upgrade, and then if you're going for the more infantry focused and solo play, the machine bolt. If you're going for a on-comms squad play, definitely go for that improved grenade launcher. That is, if it's actually working. As of now, there seems to be a couple of bugs surrounding it actually blowing up when you shoot your grenades. That being left to one side though for now. So having covered then both the stats and the specializations of the weapon, we have to talk about how it compares. Most importantly, of course, to the Commando Carbine, because that is clearly its chief competitor. It's the only other weapon in the class of weaponry, and it fulfills a similar role. Well, I can tell you straight off the bat that for me personally, and this is a personal opinion, I hugely prefer the M28 over the Commando Carbine. It's a far more consistent weapon to use for what you're going for. Essentially, the defining characteristic of the bolt-action carbines is the fact that they have the ability to one-shot headshot kill in close to medium ranges while maintaining a significantly higher fire rate, allowing you not only to try multiple times, hopefully before taking out if missing your shot, unlike the bolt-action rifles, and also providing semi-effective 2 or even 3 shot body shot kills at various engagement distances. For that defined role, for me personally, while yes, the Commando Carbine has the higher fire rate, even when both of them use the fire rate upgrades, that difference becomes slightly less noticeable, the M28 has a longer one-shot headshot kill engagement distance, and it may only be about 10 to 20 meters versus the Commando Carbines. That stops at around 30, whereas I'm not quite sure with the M28 just yet, but it seems to be around about 50 meters where you lose your one-shot headshot kill. Those 20 meters make a big difference to the efficiency and effectiveness of the weapon, because going sub 30 meters with a weapon that relies essentially on a one-shot kill, and if you miss that shot you're dead, is a lot more risky than 40 to 50 meters where there's more distance between your enemy. It's going to take them slightly longer to notice A, where you are, B, you have a little bit more time to get behind cover, you have more choice of cover as well, and their weaponry is most likely less effective at that distance. The fastest killing guns in the game are the close quarter weaponries, the fast firing ARs, the fast firing LMGs, and the fast firing SMGs, alongside the shotguns as well, of course. Not, however, the more long range focused Bren guns or Turner SMLE or Gewehr 43s of the world, most certainly not the SLRs and the bolt action rifles. Thus, a little bit more distance allows you to be infinitely more effective with this weapon. That's my personal opinion. And the same goes for the 2-shot body shot kill, which, if I'm not mistaken, according to some stats, there's a little bit of conflicting stuff going out there, is either between 50 or 75 meters. That's where you lose your 2-shot body shot kill, which means, again, this weapon is significantly more effective, even on a body shot level, than the Commando Carbine. Now, does this mean that this weapon suddenly can compete in terms of body shot raw damage output versus some of the semi-automatics or the SLRs? No, absolutely not. A Mas-44, Turner SMLE, Gewehr 43, you name it, whichever one you prefer of the semi-automatics or even the self-loading rifles, will comfortably out-damage the M28. But they do not have the ability to one-shot headshot kill, and that, with a lot of practice in skilled hands which know how to aim and perform well, which aren't necessarily my own if I'm going to honestly admit, is a lethal combination. Now, this weapon is by no means the best gun in the game suddenly, especially given that its brother, the Commando Carbine, is one of the worst. It can't suddenly go from great to rubbish and rubbish to great with just a little bit of an improvement in terms of its damage, range, and effectiveness, but there is a noticeable difference here. And while I don't really intend on using the Commando Carbine really ever, I do now consider the M28 now probably the best ranged option for the medic when he cannot run with an SMG. The SMGs ultimately are still the most effective weapon for the medic, especially the close quarter SMGs, but they limit you to close quarters. If you're not in close quarters and you still want to play medic, or you find yourself just suffering too much from the health attrition in Battlefield 5, which can be quite annoying, then this is the actual weapon that you're going to want to use, and it's going to provide you with a decent amount of firepower and quite an effective tool if you practice with it. It's taken me a couple of hours just to get some basic gameplay for today's video, because it's not an easy weapon to use. You miss a shot, you're usually dead, sometimes you can get a second one off, and you rely a lot on your secondary weapon. To round off, actually, that's what I want to play on. How to use this weapon on the battlefield. It's absolutely reliant on interchangeable use between primary and secondary weapons, so that you've got a weapon that's better at very close quarters against enemies which aren't looking away from you and you don't have the time to land a headshot on them, line up a headshot. So run with a revolver and get comfortable with that revolver, absolutely. Also try to run with a team and try to stick a little bit back. It's very difficult to actually get used to not being the first one in the door when, up until this point, the medic has always been the close quarter focused class, and now with weapons such as the Commando Carbine, but especially this M28, you need to get used to sticking back just a little bit. But that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on the M28. Probably the most interesting weapon added to Battlefield 5 post-launch, thanks to the addition of essentially an additional gadget in form of a grenade launcher and some very interesting combat mechanics thanks to its one-shot headshot kill potential. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of the M28 Tromboncino, if you have been enjoying it just as much as I have, or if just like the Commando Carbine, you find it relatively unenjoyable and ineffective. Leave that as well as of course your usual video suggestions and feedback down below in the comments, or hit me up with them over on Twitter. If you enjoyed the video, found it helpful or interesting, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 5 video.